Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I thought that it would be interesting we're not going to continue the comics, going through my old comics just yet. I want to take a little break from that, even though it was only one video. It was a very long video. So today we're going to go through and, well, first of all, we will get back to all of that. I just realized I have a bunch of paint on me. I think that's like, I don't know where that came from. But we're going to look through all of my really old artwork. We're gonna go through literally everything. Some of the super embarrassing or really bad stuff we may just skip over, but I want to show primarily like completed pieces or even kind of half-done sketch pieces that I was doing just to show you guys like what I was trying to work at. So we are going to, yeah, I mean, we may as well just get started. But I started drawing a lot primarily. I think one of the oldest dates that I found in here in this big stack of stuff that I've got. I've got a huge box next to me that is just filled with my old artwork. In fact, I have another big case over there. This is going to be a multi-part video here. I'd like to take on the task of scanning all of this in, and I'll make it available on my Patreon just for free for everyone to, just so I can get a catalog, because none of this is scanned in. If the house were to burn down or something, this would all be lost. So we would definitely not want that to happen. So I want to get all that scanned in. But yeah, so it started around 2009. So if I'm 20, I've got no idea. It's almost 10 years ago. So really, when I was between 12 to 15 years old, I started to draw a lot. I had drawn and painted a lot when I was younger. I mean, in kindergarten, I remember my kindergarten class, my teacher's name was Miss Rail, and we were, well, maybe I don't want to disclose location. I don't know if that's invading her privacy or anything, but I remember that every single day we had the choice, after all of our little lessons, learning our numbers, all stuff, we pretty much could just do whatever we wanted. But we had to like pick, what do you want to do? Do you want to go over to the little paint station, or do you want to go play with the cars or go out to do this or that? And I always wanted to go get a ton of paper out of those big old reams with those terrible, I forget what that kind of printer is called, but they had long sheets of paper that were perforated and kind of folded up, and then on the edges there were two perforated things you could tear off, and they were like they had these little punch holes in them. I don't know what that machine is called though. It was some kind of really ancient printer. But yeah, I would always love to just use all the paper that I could to draw robots. And in some baby box my mom's got of all my young childhood stuff, she has a lot of those pictures, and they all just had massive drills and these big cannons and jetpacks. And I used to love drawing and cutting out spaceships. I would draw all kinds of spaceships. It's been a long time since I've drawn one. But anyways, we'll just get started here. And the pile is kind of organized. Like, this is the span of maybe 5 years of artwork that we're kind of looking at here. So it's not all just perfectly chronological. That would take me forever to sort. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of artists, and I've always thought about this, a lot of people, artists at least, I feel like they have more artwork under their belt than me. I don't know why, but I just, in the grand scale of like 10 to 15 years worth of drawing, I have not done that much, but my progress has gone really far. I tend to not do a lot of practice or sketching and stuff like that. I usually just go straight for finished pieces. And so I don't have a lot of like I suppose concept pieces or things that I want to explore or study before I do the next one. It's usually just, I want to do another finished piece. I don't want to waste my time on practice, blah, blah, blah. And that's always been a bad habit that I've had, and I've tried to curb out of it, tried to break it. It never happened, and I still am that way. I try to do more sketching, try to do more, not throwaway pieces, but practice pieces. Stuff that's not for the strict purpose of displaying or showing or finishing or selling, but it's just, hey, do it because it's fun, or hey, just do it for the sake of doing it. But in my mind, I always have just wanted to do complete things. And the next thing that I do, it's like, okay, after I'm finished with this, I've learned something, I'm going to move on to something else. I suppose maybe it's hard for me to stay interested. It's hard for me to want to just do the same thing over and over, but I don't know. So we're just going to dive in here really quick. And the first thing on the top is a blank piece of watercolor paper. Cool. So just throw that back in the box over there. But next thing, I don't know why I never threw it away, but just a scrap sheet of paper that I drew a bunch of eyes on. I think it was Mark Crilly who, this is one of his characters that I drew, and this is, gee, when was that? I feel like that was maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Definitely not super recent, but yeah, we'll move on from that one. Yeah, I'm just going one by one. So this is a little scrap sheet of paper that I used to test colors on. I would mix it on the thing, I'd test it, make sure it looked okay, and then bada bing, you know, I would move on. But I used this for a long time. Nowadays, it's a very interesting texture on the paper. It's very finely woven, it looks like. Very nice. But yeah, I love this paper. It came in like a handmade sketchbook for watercolor, and it was very nice. I don't use anything like this now. I have my art table, and it's perfectly white, and it's non-porous, and I just mix my colors on the table. I don't use a dish or anything. Gee, that one's too recent. I'm gonna skip that. Too recent. I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, a lot of this is really recent stuff. So let me skip. I did not check this pile. Butts. Okay, yeah, cool. We will start it. Oh, no. Sure. All right, yeah, so this was probably done around maybe like 2012, 2014-ish. And I was experimenting with a lot of charcoal. I wanted to see if I really liked it. My mom, she, growing up, her art tool of choice was charcoal, and she was really, really good at it. And so I wanted to see, hey, am I any good at this? I like the moodiness that it puts out. Very, I don't know, I love the tone of charcoal. I never really stuck with it. I think that would be fun to experiment more with in the future. I don't know, I just never had a really strong base in it, and I really took to it with watercolor. The way that I started painting was I saw Bob Ross on like PBS or wherever he was going, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so I got my little paints out, and it was just, I had some acrylic paints, and I just painted along with him, and I fell in love with it. Absolutely loved it. I watched Bob all the time. I tried to paint along and just do my own stuff, and then I would try to do colored pencils with him, and then I would do like watercolor stuff, and then that really thrust me straight into my love for artwork. And you know, that's how I got started, was with acrylic, and then I moved over, tried a bunch of different things, really settled with watercolor, which apparently a lot of people are surprised at, because they say that watercolor is harder than acrylic. I am quite the opposite. I think that acrylic is more difficult. I don't know why. Same with oil. I'm better at watercolors. I don't know, which I'm very thankful for. So yeah, I was in a time where I really wanted to, and I didn't draw a lot of faces during this time, partially because I didn't know how to, and I didn't want to practice. And again, with that bad habit, I just didn't want to practice. It was either good or it wasn't for me. And also because I kind of liked how there was such a blank expression, you know, and it allowed people to kind of put themselves there or interpret for themselves, like, hey, what is this guy feeling? He's here in the darkness all alone. Like, is this the void? Is he, you know, or is this surrounding him? Is this really all that's there for him? Or you know, what's he thinking? Is he alone? Is he coming out? Is he you know, so I liked kind of ambiguous themes, I suppose, and I really liked to try to put something into my painting that wasn't, or drawing, and so it wasn't just something pretty. At the time, I wanted it to mean something, and I was trying to find a lot of meaning in my artwork. Nowadays, it's not necessarily so much. Like, I draw characters for the character purposes and stuff like that, and I am not really doing so much expressive artwork personally. I don't know. Maybe I'll try some more in the future, but I kind of moved away from that. Don't know why, but things happen naturally. So we'll move on from that. This was a little character that I drew. I talked about in my comics video a little series that I did called Penguin and Star Command. In their little world, I wanted to have all the creatures kind of just like regular like this is a lordle, but Troll. I think it's an anagram. I think that's what it's called, but I forget specifically. I rarely ever use the word, but just troll mixed up. And so if it was a goblin, it would you just mix up goblin and come up with something else like blob glob or so. I don't know. And so, but yeah, that's kind of what I was doing there. And this was a little when I was in my markers phase. I had a pack of like scented. I wonder if it still smells. It actually still smells like marshmallows. That is really, really shocking. That's very surprising. But yeah, so I was just using markers. There was like that Crayola 24 pack that you get of all the. I forget there was a specific little term that they had, but I don't remember. But yeah, I just used very simple colors for all this stuff. I liked it. I kind of was trying to use the markers and come up with textures for them and kind of use like what I had learned in watercolor for my markers. And I always really liked my style when I did stuff like this. And I really never went too far past this right here. I only did a couple of these types of drawings, and we're going to come across some of them later on, but we'll move on from that. Those are always fun to do. This one is one that I was always and am still really proud of. I sat down and I wanted to kind of figure out and understand just how the rainbow was working and make it. And this was really a step forward for me. I truly was really learning how to make watercolor do what it was supposed to, and how to let it play with each other, or all the colors play with each other and bleed and make gradual transitions and make things go from a dynamic rose color to transition easily into something like this, where it doesn't look harsh, the lines aren't abrasive or unpleasant, but this whole thing, I don't know if I can find really a transition or set of colors here that I don't like. I think that the least gradual of anything here is probably this, and I don't know where I started on this thing. This is how it's supposed to be, and this was in a sketchbook. I took the page out because this was like the only watercolor paper I had, and so there's some kind of like shiny spot on here. I hope that's not like water damage. Maybe I should seal this like with some kind of, I don't know, spray. What's it called? Lacquer or not lacquer? I don't know. Sealant. But this is 2012. So yeah, I started watercolor in 2012 apparently. So it was 8 years ago I did this. And this style of transition is still very apparent in my work today. I obviously don't do so many rainbows anymore, but I used to love painting rainbows. And just working with color and making it so beautiful as I possibly could. And so that was very fun for me. Ooh, I scratched it. I can fix that. But I love the colors that I used in here. This was done with Crayola, like 24 set of watercolors, like one of those ones that you would find at a school or ones that you would buy for your kid just to mess around with. But somehow I made it look really nice. I'm very proud of it. I had very humble beginnings when it comes to the tools that I was using. I used very generic watercolors, generic pencils, generic all kinds of stuff. And eventually my parents got me nicer things, but as I showed a lot of interest in artwork, I was initially like in music, and I played the clarinet for a little bit, ended up hating it, and I was crying to my mom. I was like, "Mom, I want to be in can I do art, please?" And so she put me in art, and she was surprised because she was like, you're good at the clarinet. I thought that you enjoyed the clarinet, but you don't want to do it anymore." And I came to a point in my band class that I was talking, like my teacher was criticizing us for something because like we were in our second year of band, me and my class, and we were like in the intermediate level. There's like the basic, intermediate, and then the advanced band. And we had just come into the intermediate, and we were going through the book, and for some reason in this one song that we had to do in our lessons, we could not get the timing of one note right, and so she moved us back all the way back, and she got really angry at us, really mad, like, you guys should be better at this. You guys should not suck this bad, essentially. Like, why can't you do this simple transition? Why can't you get this note down? Why can't you get the timing? And I remember I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I can do this. I'm not that bad. I'm fine. But I just don't want to, like, not that I didn't want to take her crap anymore, but it's like, I don't like this enough to take this criticism. I don't actually want to work any harder at this. I just want to be good normally, and I don't want to be any better. I don't like the clarinet that much. And so I, asked my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm sick and tired of it, and I think that I actually was crying. I was much younger, and, hormones. But, so, she put me in art class, and it was wonderful. I did everything. There were only 3 people in my art class. I forget his name, but, gee, and I was just thinking about them. But, yeah, and my teacher was very interesting, and she was very, very nice to us, and we got a lot of artwork done. And that was way before this period, I think. I was not doing anything like this. I didn't know my love for watercolors. I was very kind of just brutishly trying to get good at, acrylic work, and it was just, I did my best in that art class. Out of the 3 of us, the girl who was with us, she ended up getting best artist in the class. Like, she got an award for it or something. And I remember I was thinking, I was like, I wish I was the best artist. And then, which was different for me because I wanted to be the best artist. I did not want to be the best at band. I didn't care. Even though I think was I the only clarinet player? I don't remember. But we had one flutist who had lung problems. We had a guy who played the trumpet who was okay. And then we had, I think, one percussion guy, and then there was me, and then we had someone who was on the oboe, and yeah, so we only had a very few people in the class who were doing that. But we'll move on from this, and we'll talk about other things. Now, this next one was one that I was really proud of at the time. I still like it now. This was just regular paper. It was like a thick drawing paper but it was all I had. I was actually visiting with my friends, or with my cousins in Michigan. I used to go up for like a month every year, hang out with my cousins, my aunt, my uncle, and I was super into art. Like, that was just what I was doing. And obviously I'm still super into art. I still love it, still do it. But I wanted to learn, and I was really practicing landscapes and light and like contrast and dynamic colors and all kinds of stuff and transitions. And so, I did what I could with this, and this I think came before that, but this was not as good paper, so I kind of had to treat it differently. But as you can see, I kind of sketched out 3 little hills here, a little sun, a little the color, it's kind of more muted here on the camera, but these are more vibrant in person. The yellows are more, this isn't like white appearing here as it kind of looks. It's more yellow and yellow green. I somehow got like ink on this somehow, but oh well, it happens. But I was really, really proud of this. I loved the bright, brilliant colors that I had for these hills and how they just got super dark back in here. And I liked the sky, and I liked the ocean and all of that. And so this one I was really proud of, because I did this one with watercolor with those same crappy Crayolas, Crayola paints, a bottle of water, a broken tiny little paintbrush. It was really thin, really tiny, and it was broken, and like a napkin. But I really, like, if I wanted to do well, I had to really, use what I had, and I did. And I was very proud of the outcome of this. So I'll move that to the side here. This is a painting I wanted to practice. It was the same time when I was in Michigan that I did this one, and a girl that I knew, her name was Annette. She had a brother named Will who played the guitar. Annette was a photographer, and they were friends with my cousin Clayton. And Annette had a picture of this that she had taken, so this was her photograph. And I wanted to try. I was like, well, I don't understand. Like, I know that those are trees in the picture, but they're black. How can I do that painting. So I just tried to paint it black, and it didn't turn out that well, but you know, I did what I could, and I tried to kind of replicate it here in the reflection. Tried to do, but I did the best that I possibly could with this one, and I was still fairly okay with the outcome. Obviously, this isn't great paper. These are trashy paints that come out all kind of chalky looking, and I had, you know, I didn't have a good paintbrush, didn't have, you know, a good cup of water or anything like that. But you know, you do it, you're fairly okay with the outcome. Obviously, this isn't great paper. These are trashy paints that come out all kind of chalky looking. And I had, you know, I didn't have a good paintbrush, didn't have, you know, a good cup of water or anything like that. But you know, you do what you can when you're trying to paint and draw. This one I did, I think, before this one, way before that one. This one was still when I was back at home, and this was just standard sketchbook paper. I did, this was initially tied into my thing, but I wanted to try to paint like what's her name, like Akiane, that girl who is in the news, like, oh, she's so young but such a brilliant Michelangelo painter or something, I don't know, but she would paint these really beautiful detailed starry skies and galaxies and pictures of Jesus and all kinds of, and really beautiful stuff. And I was like, I want to paint a galaxy. And so I started right here. I tried to make it look really cool, and I was like, wait, I suck. And then I just started going crazy with all the colors and trying to make it look like just some abstract, which was the excuse for my lack of skill. And then I don't know what this is, probably some abstract earth or something. But yeah, so this one, it was fun. I'm glad I still have it, because, you know, this is just one of those things where we make excuses for the skills that we don't have, and you know how you don't end up working on those skills. You just keep up with the excuses. And so that was what I did. Is just, I was like, I'm not good at that, so I guess I'll just turn it into abstract. And I never ended up trying to do starry skies or anything like that. I think I eventually did something that was like a night sky. It was really pretty, which was way down the line from this. And then I also did a, what's it called? I can't think of anything today, my God. I don't know. Oh yeah, and then just a hazy blue background with just a couple like stars peeking through, and they had really long tails in it. I still have that painting. I don't know where it is though. Where is it? Anyways, I'll bring that up in another video. So we'll move on from this. But yeah, don't make excuses. If you're bad at something, if you just don't like doing it, then you don't have to do it. You can work on other things, but if you want to be good at something and you just don't put in the effort to try to learn it, then it's sad, because you're limiting yourself. You're not pursuing your potential, because if you want to do it and you actively work at it, you can get good at it. If you don't care about it and you don't want to do it, that's fine. Don't waste your time. You know, if I didn't like people's elbows, and I'm like, man, I freaking hate elbows. I don't want to draw elbows. You know, draw a character with sweaters. You know, avoid the elbows. If you don't like drawing plants, don't draw plants. You know, you don't have to do it. It's not a necessity. If you want, but you understand that there are requirements. If you want to have a job in artwork, then yeah, you need to learn to draw plants, unfortunately. But if this is for your personal work, your personal stuff, you don't have to waste time. This one was a very early painting. Let's see if I dated it. Yep, okay, 2009, Canyon Green, Countryside, 4909. So this one, I remember that, what's it called? Gladiator was playing on the television. And we were all watching it, and I was over there painting, and I was like, man, those Roman countrysides with all that wheat, you know, throughout the hills, and then these occasional evergreens. I thought it was so beautiful, and so I tried to paint it. Of course, I had no idea how to do any kind of detail, so I just kind of went to make it look like there was some wheat there up here as well. What I failed to do was just put actual wheat that lined up with it, so it's like wheat was only growing around the evergreens. But that's what I was trying to go for here. I was trying to learn how to do clouds as well. They kind of just look like big floating, I don't know, marshmallows or something. I didn't know how to make them feel wispy, you know, and they didn't really have much character. I kind of would do like little part, big part, or big part, little part. Eventually, I changed my cloud painting style to something different, where it was let me get a little example here. Like, I would do a line on the bottom, and then it would come up, and then I would kind of do this. And that was my cloud. And then I would, shade it and do all kinds of things. But I would always kind of go flat and then up and then down. And sometimes I would get crazy and like curl them in and stuff. And man, I was feel wild when I did that stuff. I was like, ooh, I'm an artist, man. So we'll go on. We'll do a couple more here because I don't want this to be like friggin' hour-long video. We'll probably go to 30 minutes here. Same time frame that I did the other thing. I was actually really proud of this one. I'm still impressed with what I was able to do here with my limited knowledge on really anything artistic at the time. I was trying my best. I don't think that I used reference for this photo at all. I didn't use reference for that one. Just like in terms of like the thing I want. I didn't copy any of this. I did what I thought was what it was going to look like, and I kind of came up with my own picture in my head. That's kind of the story of my entire artistic thing. Is I really never use references very often. The exception being this one here, where I did use a friend's photograph of nature. This one I really like, though. I like the snow-capped mountains. I like the green everywhere. I obviously did not come up with any kind of reflection here in the lake. I don't know if that would merit a reflection. I would probably put something in here. There's no real clean line of distinction like here. I would have put like some little white water lines, maybe some sea foam or some kind of little crashy waves if it were now. Canyon G, that's my signature back then. I would just spell it out. Then I kind of tried to transition into the, down there into the horizon where it would go shade lighter, and then, off into obscurity. And I started to paint this guy white here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there you can. I put some white here. I was like, wait a minute, the paper's white. I don't need to do that. And so I didn't. But yeah, I was really proud of this one. Still am. I like it a lot. It's a shame that I folded all of these, but, when you're younger, I also stapled all of them to the wall, so they'll have these staple holes in all corners of them, so, yeesh. But I'm no better right now because I put tape on all of my stuff, so, so let's move that over. Same time period, my first attempt at painting the moon. I don't know if I used a reference photo for this. Maybe I did, maybe I don't remember specifically. But Canyon G, dotted little stars here and there. You can see here all of this stuff on the edge. There's a painting we're going to get to a little bit later. I think I might search for it and skip to it here in a second, just so I can line that up and have some continuity here in this video. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we'll talk about the moon first. But so I tried to get as best a circle as I possibly could, and then I tried to do a crater. If it were now, again, I would kind of taper off this color into different directions while maintaining that. But I'm kind of impressed at like how I shaded the circle. Obviously, it's really kind of blotchy and chunky with like with the strokes that I use and all that stuff. But I like how it faded into blackness, kind of like the Death Star, or just kind of like the real moon. But I don't know what that is. But I didn't know really how to do those transitions yet, especially with acrylic paint. And so I should have kind of transitioned this and maybe done some more little craters here and there. But I'm going to skip down into the pile here. I want it to be edgy and emotional. I never painted humans, but this one was called Sadness by Canyon Green. And I think all of these were done within the span of just a few days. This one's 4/7. Which one was 4/9? So I did this one, Sadness is what I called it. And just a woman who has gray hair crying. Didn't know how to do a background, so I just did these broad strokes. This paint is actually sparkly, so that's interesting. But I think if you line it up here, right there, yeah. So I guess I was just painting like this, and I was like, oh, F, darn, got it onto my, but it's fun because now you get to talk about little things like this. And this one's not folded. But man, I cannot wait to actually get to some good artwork because these all paint me like a really bad artist. But yeah, keep in mind, this is when I was like 12. So we have about a minute left. I don't think we'll cover really anything else here. We have so much to cover. I will show you here. We have this whole stack, all of these books, this entire box of artwork to go through. and we still have more, and that's just the watercolor stuff, not even like my acrylic paintings or anything. So that will do it for part one. We went through just, my god, I thought I was going to get through way more, but I like talking about things, and I hope that you guys like listening to things. And you know, this allows me to talk about, you know, all kinds of stories that I had, and you know, what I was thinking when I was younger, because sometimes, you know, you forget all of that stuff, you forget where you came from as an artist, and this all allows it to be, you know, brought back into focus, and you kind of understand, hey, I don't know where I'm going now, but what was my goal when I was younger? What did I want? Was that goal something that I should be pursuing right now? Because I feel like a lot of people lose that childlike sense of wonder when you were an artist, is everything was fresh and new and you wanted to try everything. You really didn't care how things turned out. But yeah, so yeah, I'm really enjoying making these videos. I hope that you guys do as well. And you know, after we get through all this artwork stuff, you know, maybe we'll try to do a lot more, maybe like live painting, live drawing, speed paints, all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Have a great one.